everyone. We're Steph and Rachel, the creators of Wealth, Wisdom, and Wellbeing podcast. The spirit of this podcast is to share the conversations and curiosities that we have with a greater community in the hope that we can develop wealth, wisdom, and well-being for ourselves and those around us. Simply put, we're in the pursuit of financial freedom and opportunity, meaningful relationships and experiences, and an increased quality of life to be able to enjoy all of it. We just want to live our best lives and help you to do the same. Come with us on this journey. Let's have some laughs, learn from our communities, and get that bread.
Good to see you. What's been new? What's been happening?
Well, I've just realized with this Yeti mic sponsorship still pending, my shirt is not very soft. Do you hear this?
It's so scratchy.
I know.
Oh.
You do yours. Oh my
Mine's
god, I'm
like
shopping
silky
in the wrong place.
smooth. Oh
This is
man,
not
girl.
okay. So
I was gonna say though, your lapels. Is this a lapel?
Yeah.
I think it's a lapel. Or is
I
that
think it
those
is.
ones that like come down that the cowboys wear?
It's quite long, isn't it?
But it's so nice and pressed. Like I've got
Oh.
more of the, just rolled out of bed. Look, but we both are wearing collared shirts. Like this, I didn't even plan this. We're like on the...
This is a very serious episode. So
It is.
It warrants a collar.
We got pretty professional here. I don't know. We just knew intuitively. Pull out the collars.
I'm going to try and move very little. This is insane. Okay.
That's like, I couldn't hear it though until you started scratching. So I think you're good. It's pretty awesome though.
Silent.
We'll know if you're fidgeting over there. We'll be able to hear it.
Well, Steph, I'm excited about today because today is going to be a lot about us.
Yeah, we get to talk all about our money beliefs.
Yeah,
talk about how we even started like thinking about this stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
It's gonna be good. Yeah. All right, so today we are here and we're talking about money beliefs. So, man, money, emotions, they go hand in hand. So basically money it's energy, right? So it's super emotional, and today we're going to dive into this money mindset, which is probably the most important foundation of all. And I know, Rach, when we were talking about our episodes and we had a different like format, and then we're like, okay, have you read The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel? And we were talking about that, and then you just read it the other week, and there's just so many key things. So let's dive into that today. And I want to start out by saying a quote from Morgan Housel from The Psychology of Money. So doing well with money isn't necessarily about what you know. It's about how you behave. And behaviors is hard to teach, even to really smart people. Yeah. Human behavior. We get into our habits. We have the things we do. So let's go and dive into some of the takeaways from Psychology of Money about how we can move forward. So, few takeaways from this book. Financial DNA. So basically, our different generations look at the stock market very differently. There's very different views depending on where you are in a period of time in history. If you were in the Great Depression and going to be investing in the stock market, your views around the stock market would probably be, oh my goodness, this is so scary. It's so low. I mean, just because of the times and the economy at that time. Whereas if you were investing in let's say, what was the peak year? Let's even just like when we had the spike in 2020 there, after the pandemic, or where it dropped and came back up, and you were investing during that time, you'd be like, woo, I'm at an all-time high, like just surfing this huge wave, right? Mm-hmm. So it's very dependent on that. There's no really one size fits all. Like this is, there's very different decisions based on where you are in your life, what your goals are, and what your risk tolerance is.
Yeah, I think if there was a one size fits all, we wouldn't even be doing this because you would just like, okay, you're 18, you sign up for this product,
Right.
and this is just wait your 30 years and then you can stop working or whatever it might be. It's just not that simple. To your point, where you just differ so much in all aspects of our lives that um, it's going to be unique for every person.
Absolutely. And do we want to dive into some more of the points here about the psychology of money, or do we want to talk a little bit about where maybe some of our beliefs have come from ourselves?
I'd really prefer to just talk about us.
Perfect. Let's dive into this. I love it. I love this straight up. Let's get to it. So, growing up, Rach, tell me a little bit about like in your household, what was the views of money? What did you learn about money? Just like off the cuff before we dive into any like formal quiz things.
Yeah, so I recall my mom talking about money. I was probably around age 8. And I don't know if that's because that's when she started talking about it more openly with the family, or if it's just memory. Like that's when, 8 years old, when things actually started to stick. But my dad had left, he'd moved down to the States. And so we were virtually on a one income household with some child support payments. And mom talked a lot about budgeting after that. So one of our big expenses every couple years was to go visit our family in Brazil. And it was the 90s. So it was pricey to fly. And you had to save a while to be able to come up with the funds to do it. So that's what mom would talk about. She'd say, if we wanted something or we were talking about doing some type of activity, whatever it might be, she would say, well, we're budgeting for Brazil or we're saving for Brazil. So I remember quite a bit about that. She was never very vocal about like, Rachel, you should be saving. But I did understand that if I wanted to buy things, I had to have the money. Like it wasn't going to come from nowhere.
Right.
Yeah. So that was really my first discussions about money. And then I started working at 11, sending or delivering flyers for my uncle. He was a realtor. So
Oh,
I would
wow.
send his like newsletter, or I would walk it for, the 20 blocks I had to walk and pop it in people's, I was going to say email boxes, their mail boxes.
Right.
Yeah. And then that's also when I learned about like no solicitors, what that meant. So that was a fun experience.
Yeah.
But that was it. Yeah. Just knowing that I had to work at 11 for $20 for 4 hours. Looking back,
Wow.
Uncle Dave, you could have been a little bit more generous.
You got a good deal there, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, those foundationals that you were learning, that was worth it probably.
What
But
about
now
you,
like,
Steph?
oh my goodness. Well, money values. Money in our house, the conversations around money were heavy. They had some big feelings around it. If it did come up. And I say if because there weren't a lot of open discussions around money. I knew we spent a lot. We went and really enjoyed shopping. I know a lot of the bonding experiences we did was around shopping, and we've got a lot of those really good feelings from that consumerism looking back. And it's interesting because in my family's history, when I've talked to my mom a bit about it in my adult life, she's mentioned how that was something that was a bonding thing with her and her parents too. So I knew like some of the basics from like going in. I think we were talking about this last time, Rach, just on an aside conversation, going in and opening up like a bank account and that whole process of going into the bank. And I had a savings account and I even had one of the TFSAs. But the hilarious thing is with the TFSA, didn't realize that you could actually invest that money. Had no idea it was a vehicle for investment. I thought it was like a savings account. But of course, if you just leave it in that TFSA, it's not going to do anything. You're not going to have any interest being accrued. So that was something that I've learned in my adult life. But yes, the beliefs around money, I think there's a lot. When we talk about money mindset, we talk more about a poor money mindset versus a good money mindset. And there's a great blog called Motley Fool. And there's a lot of different financial professionals on this blog that write for the blog. So there was one by Sam Swenson. He is a CFA and a CPA, so certified financial advisor and chartered professional accountant. And so I loved the breakdown that they did on poor money mindset versus good. So if we just we'll post the link to it so you can go into the details, but just quickly to go through some of those qualities. The poor money mindset is more around that fear, that anxiety, feeling out of control or lacking control in your area of finances, having a negative concept around money, and feeling really intimidated by the concepts. It's overwhelming to even look at the terminologies, and feeling defeated. I'll never be good at this. And even procrastinating. I'll eventually go get to my budget, or one day, those bills are going to open themselves, so I'm not going to worry about it. That type of thing is characteristics of a poor money mindset. And I would say growing up, that was more what it was. I had that mindset. And if we switch and go into what it is to make a good money mindset, this is when you are more willing to tackle difficult problems. You feel more in control of your behaviors and your decisions, and empowered, you are the one in charge. You have a feeling of optimism, even if there is uncertainty present. Your outlook is positive. And you have this openness to learning new things. You're more solution oriented, and you acknowledge little bits of progress, those incremental gains. So when you focus on that, you're more likely to have a good money mindset.
Do you know what I thought about when you mentioned fear and anxiety and lack of control? I remember university was the first time I got a credit card. I think I had a limit of $500. And I would always take cash out of the ATM before going to the bar. And my limit was $40. It was this is the max I can spend. And then I would, of course, have a couple drinks and then leave my credit card for the tab. And I just remember the next day, the fear and anxiety of looking at that bill, feeling of course, I had no control. And I hated that. I hated that so much. And it's not, it didn't end there. Right? There will be times maybe you're on vacation, you have a budget. And then you're oh, I'll just get this little extra thing. And then you kind of start rolling and those decisions become easier to step out of your budget. And then you go home and then you're, whenever that bill comes in, you're about to open it thinking, oh my God, how bad could this be?
Right.
It happens to all of us. And it's so easy to be in that space.
I think that's such a relatable point because it does happen to all of us. We've all been there in some way or fashion. And I mean, we're human. That's going to happen. It's just how often is that happening? And having the awareness that that's happening. And great for you to tune into those feelings. They're oh, this feel what is this going to be like? What did I, it is the worst. And I've totally been there too with credit cards or, incentives that the bank sends. And you're ooh, so if I can do this, this, and this, and this perfectly, this will all work out great. And I can go on this trip. And yeah, definitely been there. So with those type of things, I think just having that awareness is number one. And one neat tool that I love to take a look at, and I wish I could have done the money mindset years ago and then compared to today, but there's this quiz we're going to drop into the show notes here and for this episode, and it's on Money Mentors. It's just a quick little money mindset. So Rach, I know we had talked about you were going to complete that before this episode. Tell me about your experience. Did anything surprise you?
Yes. I mean, I'm always surprised about how I don't know, when faced with with questions that are supposed to kind of uncover something about yourself, I'm usually surprised. So the quiz is quick. It's like 10 questions and they range from, I think the first one was, I am fearful of my finances and feel anxious just thinking about it. You're supposed to answer true or false. And then to the last question was, money will never be my friend. So simple questions, but really it does kind of get you thinking about one, you might have kind of a knee jerk true or false answer and then question where it came from. So I'm not fearful of my finances, but I do experience some level of anxiety thinking about what I should be doing with my cash. And that one I can't seem to stop, which is the part that was surprising to me. Because I felt this way 10 years ago. I feel it today. I felt it yesterday. I'll probably feel it tomorrow. And that one, with as much as I learn, I still have that little bit of anxiety about thinking about my finances. I often do feel in control, sometimes a bit out of control, again, especially when it comes to experiences. And it really comes back to like, once you say yes to something that maybe was out of your initial plan, it gets a lot easier to keep saying yes, which tends to get me into
justifying it.
Totally. Yeah. And it gets me into trouble. I don't want to say it's just, it sways me away from my plan.
Right.
My plan that would have gotten me to the goal that I had at the time.
Right.
And I don't love that. You know me, I'm type A. I need to follow the plan.
The plan.
Yeah.
And just to pause there for a moment, because I think you said something really interesting that a lot of us could benefit just digging into a little deeper. So when you were going through this questionnaire and you have those feelings underneath there around like that bit of anxiety around spending of the money, and you're like, I don't quite know where that comes from. But if you like sit with that, like that feeling, like, is there something that comes up for you like from your past, or like some kind of, do you hear like a voice in your head around something with spending?
I just don't want to regret anything. Sometimes you kind of mentioned that high you get from consumerism, like buying something. It's hard to walk into a mall and leave without anything. So I find I have some regret about my purchases, and they're not big. It's not like I bought a new car and that's something I'm regretting. All to say, like, relatively speaking, these regrets for me are small, but they still happen. Like, I want to say maybe a year ago, I came home with a shirt from the mall only to hang it in my closet and realize I had one that was almost exactly the same. Like that type of regret.
Yes.
Like, what am I doing?
Yes.
So I think that's where that bit of anxiety comes from, is just I hate feeling like I've been dumb with my money,
Right. Or like in the moment when you're going to buy those things, is it trying to fulfill something else? Like rather than a need, is it
100%.
trying to, you know what I mean? Like this is because for myself, like I can relate to this because I love when I feel like I'm having a hard go. I love going and just treating myself to, maybe I'll buy like, yeah, just whatever it is. Like I enjoy like subscription boxes and things like that. That's more planned, but I will go to Costco and buy all the things in the other aisles when I'm there just for groceries. Because I'm like, oh, this is so neat. And then I get that high. But to your point with like just leaving it in your closet, how long does that high last for? You get that immediate feeling. And then yeah, there's those feelings of like regret or what am I doing, or doubting. And then for me, I'm like, okay, so I was likely fulfilling some other, to cover up my sadness or like to cope with my, whatever it might be, rather than that I really wanted that item.
And there's nothing wrong with buying things is the other thing, right? Like
No.
we purchase. We purchase for ourselves, our partners, our children. I like to shop, but I think to your point, that regret comes from, I did this, but I didn't actually want this thing. Like
Mm.
this activity did not give me the return that I was
Mm-hmm.
hoping for, whether it was a feeling or something tangible. And that's really, I think, where my regret stems from. So
Yeah,
constant self work
it is.
to work through this. And I think the important part is just being aware of it.
I think it's number one. It's the key. And like, when we're talking about some of these things, with even in like the poor money mindset and how we're shifting to more of a good money mindset, we might fluctuate back and forth between them too, depending on what's going on in our lives. And with, being aware of it, like you're saying, and in our next episode, we're going to be talking more about budgeting. And one of the beautiful things about having a budget, from what I found, it's that opportunity when you sway off that plan to recheck yourself and to adjust. And when you are checking in on my partner and I do a monthly basis for our budget, when you can check in and you can see where those things were out of alignment, it's so much easier to feel in control and to move forward in the upcoming month to realign your plan.
Absolutely. I like that. I like the check-ins. This is not a part of your life, if one part warrants this anyway, but where you should have your head in the sand. Like, no matter how difficult it will be to look at that credit card statement, to look at your budget, to really know the money that, like, what your income is truly versus what
Yes.
you think it might be. It's always better to be aware. Like, don't,
Mhm.
it's scary, but get your head out of the sand and just get some control.
Yeah. Number one, getting that control and reminding yourself, you are in control can be so helpful. And there's a few other tips in this blog here that I think would be really helpful for our viewers or listeners to go in and just work through the steps here, just to remind yourself, like, I'll go through just the main points, but you are in control, number one. Number two, you just having the willingness to do the work. And the fact that you're listening to this podcast shows yourself and us that you're willing to do the work. You want to learn, you want to do better and improve. So that openness is huge. Acknowledge your incremental progress, those little gains. So what if you're paying off small amount of debt, like even if it's a little bit each month, that is a gain. If you're contributing to an employee like savings plan, these are things to acknowledge and pat yourself on the back because they are huge. Those small, consistent steps are what going to get you there long term. And committing to yourself to being successful, having the mindset. And this takes some time, but just knowing and believing that you will get there. You may not be where you want to be right now. However, we can still be grateful for where we are right now and where we're going. And next point, expressing gratitude. None of us have a perfect situation in our finances, in our lives, right? We all have some level of financial worry. We go through ups and downs with it too. Very normal. But if we can appreciate where we are, it's the key first to going and getting more of what you're wanting.
We do moments of gratitude every morning in our household. Well, I do them. And I force my family to do them with me. So every morning over my first cup of coffee, I open up my journal and I write what I'm grateful for. And some days are more difficult than others. I think the other day I just wrote for this hot coffee. And then I ask my kids, 5 and 7, I'll say, okay, what's something you're grateful for today? Sometimes it's for my family. Sometimes it's for the Fruit Loops that they get to consume that morning.
Yes.
But it'll differ. And then I ask my husband as well, because I want the kids to see that he also expresses gratitude. But it's not always, actually, it's very rarely about my financial situation. But yeah, I think just to your point, gratitude at all aspects of your life. And again, it can be small, it can be big. But it really helps just with that mindset of that gratefulness for where you are, where you're starting, and what you've already done.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I like that. And I
Mhm.
think anyone, if you take one thing away from this episode, just make it gratitude because it's good for
Yes.
your body, your soul, it's good for everything.
I think that is beautiful insight, Rach. And gratitude is such a huge part of our household as well. Personally, in my journal, I do it. And at our dinners, we do like our highs, lows, and buffaloes. So, what was your high of the day? What was your low? And what's something just random and silly? So, that's been really fun. My daughter and my husband have been doing a gratitude journal for her. So, that's something they do throughout the day whenever they can. So yeah, no, it's super important, and it's leading to that abundance mindset in all areas of your life, like you say, with your well-being, and you've got a lot of wisdom in yourself that you can tap into as well. So another thing is keep moving forward. So we have our experiences that we've all been through. We don't have to stay stuck there. You have the power to go and choose a different way. And that's just such an important piece. And then adopting an abundance mindset, right? So even though you might not be where you want to be, you see other people, like comparison can be just like the theft of joy. Like just focus on you and where you want to go. And when you focus on gratitude and your mindset, beautiful things are going to start to come in your life.
Steph, I think you glossed over that very powerful saying, competitiveness is the theft of joy. That's
Yeah.
so true for me about how I feel about competition. And it really does suck the joy out of whatever it is that you're comparing, your vacation, your marriage,
Mm-hmm.
your kids, your friendships. I think this is really, really, really fundamental in establishing a good relationship with money. It's getting out of that comparison. We are not keeping up with the Janeses or the Joneses. That's just not us. But not to say we don't maybe blur that line a little bit. It happens. We're human. But we want to be really adamant that that just doesn't work. It doesn't work for us. It doesn't work for building wealth. Um, it's a no-go. No bueno.
No bueno. It is a no-go, right? And it's like that. Oh, it's so easy to get caught up in like when you're watching the Kardashians or whatever, if you watch any of those like billionaire shows and stuff like that, right? Because that's where there's all these things in your face that you're like, oh, I'd love that. And you get really caught up in that lifestyle, but it's like fundamentally, what do you truly want? Like, is that it can get blurring your actual desires. So staying clear with what you want. And as I've grown as a person, I'm realizing materialistic things like this year is all about simplicity. It's decluttering. I am reducing my consumerism and I am focusing on experiences and making my life simpler. So I use less energy, whether that's money energy, time energy, all of those things. That is just what is going to bring me more peace. I truly feel.
I love that about so Steph doesn't do like New Year's resolutions. You choose almost themes, hey, for your year. So this year
The last
was
couple of years, yes.
simplicity. Last year was connection.
Last year was connection. Yes. And just to guide my whole year. So I write down, I choose just whatever intuitively comes up for me. And yes, just to guide the year in all areas of my life. So last year was connection, this year's simplicity.
I love that. I love that as a theme. And then it provides the framework for the decisions you make, right? And the choices you make in that year. Which is
Yeah.
very
And
cool.
just setting that intent. Yeah. Which I found it was really powerful. And then you can let go of those guilty, shameful feelings that come with like setting resolutions so often. And I love having a word to connect to because it guides your intention, but it keeps you focused on that rather than something so specific. Yeah.
Nice. I have to be more like you when it comes to setting the intent. I'm like, 2024. It's 365 days of things. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just
let's go. Yeah, just roll with it. Well,
I'd like to have fewer grays. That's my that'll be my goal. Yeah.
Start with where you're at and we go from there, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Rach, I do really love this conversation, and we have a lot more, I think, to touch on within it. So I wonder if we want to split this into 2 episodes for the listeners here, just so that we can dive in a little bit more into that scarcity versus abundance, and then give some really tangible, like, takeaway steps for them to go through in their own time. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. So I think the takeaway from this episode is, if possible, do the quiz. Do the quiz, sit with it, reflect, have an idea of where you are in this point in your life and what your money mindset is. And then take that into the next episode and use it. I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it though, right? So to take where your awareness is and just bring it with compassion and just so much love for yourself of where you're at, acceptance, right? Being grateful, finding a few things that you're grateful for. And then come into the next episode where we touch on even more about enhancing your mindset to go towards a growth, healthy mindset with money that's all about abundance, and with your well-being as well. So,
okay.
All right. We'll see you in the next episode. Find the questionnaire in the show notes there, and we will see you back here for the second part.
Bye.
Bye. This podcast is designed to provide listeners and viewers with a general overview of how to start investing and growing wealth, provide value to our communities, and live a life of wellness. It is not designed to be a definitive investment guide or life guide to take the place of a qualified financial planner or other professionals. Given the risk involved in investing of almost any kind, there is no guarantee that the investment method suggested in your personal or financial life will be profitable. We do not assume liability of any kind for any losses that may be sustained as a result of applying the methods suggested in this podcast, and any such liability is hereby expressly disclaimed.
We might have to just
The light just like ding, ding.
Yeah.
They're
cut
home.
it. Yeah.
That was a quick haircut.
Oh my gosh. We'll just cut this part out.
That's okay. We'll just do a nice pause. That's fine.
Just a hold.
Yeah. This is a good quote though. Oh. Hi, Albert.
Hi, Albert. Come show me your haircut. You look really nice.
Yeah, I just want to play Lego.
You have to wait.
Oh.
How much minutes?
Like 25. I'll call you when it's time.
What are you doing?
I'm just doing a fun video and stuff. Okay. Can you please go upstairs, turn that light off on the stairs and close the door?
This light? Oh.
Just up the top of the stairs.
Sure.
Thank you. Close the door, please. He smells good. He just got his
looks
haircut.
So cute. It's so
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. Reagan still hasn't
boy.
gotten her first haircut. So she wants to though.
There's time. She wants to?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for?
Well, we were going to do it in Walt Disney World, but then it didn't work out with timing. So they have a little barber shop there.
Oh, cute.
So now we just have to find It's like I want to make this like a monumental occasion
you?
or something. I don't know. It feels, I don't know why. Maybe it's something that's like more special to me than I realized.
Yeah, it
Because
sounds like
I
it.
want to be there. Yeah.
Don't take her to
Anyways.
Beaners. God, that
No?
place sucks. No, it's
Does
awful.
it?
Like, you might as well just cut her
Oh.
hair at home.
Oh. Where do
Just
you
put the
go with the
bowl on.
boys?
Put the bowl on her head. Yeah.
Dumb
They
and
go
Dumber.
to Tommy Gun.
Oh yeah, that's a like
Yeah.
really nice like masculine
Yeah, they
energy
get the
type
cut.
place.
They get the shave.
Oh, they do the shave? Do the cute?
No.
Do the cute? I was like, that's cute. They do like a fake shave. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea, though.
That would be good.
Okay.
All right. Moving forward, that's what we're gonna do.
Okay. Peter Piper had a bunch of pickled peppers. Is that what we're supposed to?
Oh, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
It needs some work. That's the B version of Mary Poppins.
Yeah, my daughter can do it better than me now. Okay. Oh gosh.
Okay.
All right. Brrr, ready.
Ready.
This hair. This is tricky. Okay.